Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your Tangled yogi out here in Northern California. Welcome to the Dragonfly Dream Class. I'm getting ready to teach for the San Rafael Public Library today, and I thought I would share this class with you as well. So with that said, let's get started by talking about what we're going to be needing for class. I've got my Micron PN Pen here, but you can use your favorite Tangle pen. I have a white gel pen. This is the Mizu Love, but you can also work with the Sakura Jelly Roll White. If you have a 10 or an 08, that's fine. I'm going to be working with Graphite Pencil and a Tortillon. Now, if you don't have a Tortillon, which is a blending stump, you can always grab a Q-tip and that will work in a pinch. Now, I am going to be working on the Genesis tile from the Tangled Yogi Shop. Right now, the Tangled Yogi Shop is closed, but I'll be reopening it next week. These are really great tiles. They're 4.5 by 4.5, and they are super, super smooth and really, really fun to work on if you like to do color pencil work. Now, for those of you who don't have Zentangle tiles at home, but you have your sketchbook handy, just make a square that's 4.5 by 4.5 inches, and you are good to go. All right, so let's get started with the Dragonfly Dream. So many of you know that before I teach a class, I try to do a little bit of grounding to help myself get centered. So let's go ahead and take a comfortable seated position in our chairs, letting our feet touch down onto the floor. Allow your hands to rest in your lap and let your spine grow comfortably tall without hardening. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears, softening in the arms and softening in the legs. And then just take a moment to notice the sounds around you. You might hear the birds outside, or maybe a wind chime. And then take a moment to notice the sound of your own breath as it's rolling in and as it's rolling out. And as you follow the breath in, see if you can notice the beginning, the middle, and the end of each inhale. And as you exhale, see if you can notice the beginning, the middle, and the end of each exhale. Inhaling, beginning, middle, and end. And exhaling, beginning, middle, and end. One more time on your own, noticing on the inhale. And one more time, noticing the exhale. And before we start our class today, I thought it would be nice to have a quote, and this is from Mary Oliver, and she says, "It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside the soft world, to instruct myself over and over again." And I really do think that that's pretty apropos for this class. We'll be paying attention, and we'll be looking and listening and losing ourselves in this wonderful practice of Zentangle. Taking a moment to wiggle in the fingertips and toes, and a nice deep breath in, and let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to start with my Zentangle pencil that I have here. This is just a number 2 pencil, and you can see that I don't have an eraser because there are no mistakes in Zentangle. And I'm just going to start by putting my dots in my corners here. And this is part of the method of Zentangle and just getting ourselves started on a piece. And so I'm going to go ahead and connect my dots by drawing a line. You can see that my line has a little wiggle and a wobble. That's all okay. and I'm just turning the tile to make it easy for my hands. So go ahead and create your border. So once I have the border created here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a string. And the reason for creating a string in Zentangle is so that we can have a really easy way of creating and breaking up the space. Sometimes looking at a blank canvas can be intimidating. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to find the middle point in all of the lines that I just drew. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to connect those points as best I can without a ruler. I know there's some perfectionists out there, but no ruler is necessary in Zentangle. And so then I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to divide the space by coming through the center and dividing on the diagonal, just like so. So what you should have on your page will look a little something like this. So this is a really nice string in order to begin the piece. Okay, so go ahead and finish up yours, and then when we come back, we're going to learn the tangle virya. Okay, so we are going to learn our first tangle for today, and this tangle is called virya, and it translates to energy from the Hindu language. And it's a really beautiful tangle, and it's brought to us by Priya. And Priya's last name I do not know how to pronounce, so I'm just going to write it out so that I don't annihilate it, because I am very dyslexic. So this is Priya's tangle, and basically what it is you have a line, and then you have a circle here and a circle here, and then you put a circle in the center. Now I'm going to make a V off of each side of that center circle. Now once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect it to this piece here and this piece here and this piece here and this piece here. And then once I have that basic design, I'm going to create a little teardrop shape that's going to come off the side of each part of this circle. And then I'm going to step down twice and create these little petals that come off the side. So really nice, easy tangle that really packs a lot of punch. It's a really fun tangle to do, as you can imagine. And you can do it another way. You can start by coming in and making your line, doing the circle in the center, but this time instead of making triangles, you can do arcs. And this is just a tangulation on the theme here. And then once again, creating your petals, just like so. Really pretty, very fun tangle. Thank you, Priya, for this wonderful tangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off to the side here, and we're going to come back to our piece. And I'm going to continue to use my pencil just so that we can lay down the foundation and then start to work on the tile itself here. Okay, so what this is going to look like is we're going to start by just working with our diagonal pieces in this particular tangle. And I'm going to turn my piece on the diamond here, and I'm just going to start by putting a little dot right in the middle of this particular line. So you can see I'm working in the square, and I've got a dot right in the center. And I'm going to do a fairly good sized circle around that dot. Now, the way that she had done it, she had the circle on each side, but we're actually not going to do that this time. What we're going to do is we're going to create a V on each side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to the center of the piece, just like so. and I'll do the same thing out here. Now, one of the things that I want to express is that you want to make your V's wide enough so that you can work in the center of these. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create those little teardrop shapes on either side, and then I'm going to step down once, step down twice. Looks like I can do it 3 times on this one. And I'll do it again on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's Virya. Now, what we're going to do with this is we're going to go into the center of each of these little kind of oblong diamonds here, and we're going to create a nice aura on the inside. So it's going to look a little something like this. Just like so. Okay, so now you've had a chance to check it out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to do this all the way around. So I'm going into each box, looking for the center, and I'm going to do a nice circle here. So I'm just going to go around to each one and do the same thing. And you'll notice that I'm trying to keep my circles about the same size here. Now, once I have my circles in, I'm not going to continue in pencil. I'm actually going to pick up my pen and I'm just going to start tangling, because I know for myself that I feel pretty comfortable with this tangle. So I'm just going to take my pen and I'm going to do what we call an overdraw. Oops, and it looks like my pen is giving me a little trouble here. I'm going to flip this over and pause. Okay, so I'm going to come right in and start to do that overdraw. And then I'm going to make the V on either side. And then once again attaching to the corners. And attaching to the center. I'll come to the sides and create that really nice petal-like shape. And once I have those petal-like shapes, I'm going to do the little step downs now. So I'm going to step down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Coming over to the other side, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. Once I have that, I'm going to go into the center. And for me, when I'm doing auras, what I like to do is make dots. So I'm just going to come in, make my dots, and then make my lines. Same thing over here. So 1, 2, 3. Coming into the center, and there you can see how fun this is. Really fun little tangle here. So I'm just going to keep going with this and just work with my circles here. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, attach to the corners, and attach to the center, and then once again putting your dots inside and doing your auras. Oops, this pen is also giving me some trouble. And then once again. And then coming in and doing the petals. And there you can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up mine. You go ahead and finish up yours, and then when we come back, we're going to start to add more to this piece. Okay, so you can see I've had a chance to go all the way throughout the piece and add that really fun tangle into it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start to create our dragonflies. And so you can see I have this line right here in the center, and what I'm going to do is right in the center of that line I'm going to make a dot. And let's go ahead and zoom in on that. Now what I'm going to do is up at the top you can see this is where I have my line that is from the beginning where we used it for our border. And right below that I'm going to put a circle. Now once I have that, I'm going to come from this line and create a teardrop-like shape that's going to come in and come right back down again. And then just like what we did before, I'm going to create a V-like shape right here. And then I'm going to come down and connect. So it's a really nice narrow shape. Let's go ahead and do that again. So I'm going to go to the next one and do the same. I'm going to come right underneath the line here and make a nice circle. Come to the center point. Make a nice teardrop shape that's going to come up, touch, and come right back down again. And then at the bottom, I'm going to make that V-like shape, connecting here and connecting here. Turning the tile, nice circular shape, come to the center, create a nice teardrop, coming over here, creating that V, and connecting. One more time, coming right here, nice circular shape, come to the center, make your teardrop, nice V shape right here, and connect. Look at how cool this is when you bring them all together like that. Isn't that so fun? All right, so you go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to add the body of our dragonfly. So you can see that what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the wings for the body of the dragonfly here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to find a point that I like to stop at. So what this is going to do is I'm going to come over right here where our Vera is, and we're going to come in and add 2 dots on either side. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to create an arc that's going to land right here on the dragonfly, and I'm going to do one of these on both sides. So it's going to look a little something like this. I'm going to come up, touch the border, and I'm going to drop down. Okay? So I'm going to do that on the other side, but what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm doing it in the same place. So you can see that I'm going to come up towards the top on this one. And let's make sure that you can really see that clearly. So I'm just going to do 2 dots on either side. And then all I'm going to do is come up, touch the border, and there you have the wing of the dragonfly. So let's do that again. Turning the tile clockwise, I'm going to come over here, add 2 dots on either side. And then I'm going to come in here and add 2 dots on either side. And you can either start from this point or go outward. It just depends on if you're, which way you're comfortable drawing these lines. If you want to go in, you can go in, or if you want to go out, you can go out. It really just depends on you. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn. And I'm going to do the 2 dots on either side. 2 dots on either side, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to go over here and connect. Turning my tile one more time. Once again, I've got the 2 dots on either side, 2 dots here, and then coming down, connect, and coming over and connect. So now you can see that we've got this really beautiful pattern that this has created. I just love the way that this looks. So to close off the wing of the dragonfly, I'm going to come down a little bit and I'm going to leave a little bit of space here, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to come out again. So I'll do the same thing all the way around. I'm going to come in. I can make 2 dots here if it helps to make it a little bit clearer. Turning the tile, stepping down, turning the tile, stepping down, and then you can see another pattern has emerged there, which is really quite lovely as well. So go ahead and finish yours up. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to add a little bit more to the piece. So I'm going to add a second set of wings to this dragonfly here, and I'm going to come in right on this part right in here, and I'm going to go ahead and just add a really soft wing right underneath, and same thing over here. So it's just below the point of the diamonds there. I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to do it again. So just below, turning the tile, once again, turning the tile, and once again. And you can see that that develops a really beautiful pattern around the centerpiece. So go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to overdraw. So you can see that I have my pen in my hand here, and I'm just going to start to do the overdraw here. And you can see that I'm really taking my time. I'm going to come over to this side and do the same. Now, once I've had a chance to draw it in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an aura around it. So let's come in a little bit further and let's really focus in on that dragonfly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to make a really soft aura around the top. Aura is just an echo line, just how it sounds. Do the same thing on the other side. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. And then for the wings of the dragonfly, I'm going to start to come down and make a point and come back in. I'll do the same thing here, make a point and come back in. And then the design that's going to go into the butterfly is known as mirth. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do 1, 2, and then if I've got room for 3, I'll do 3. And at the end of each of those lines, I'm going to do a really soft triangle. Now you'll notice I'm not putting it on my outline, I'm just putting it on the lines that I just drew. So 1, 2, and this one will be 3. I'll come over to the other side and do the same. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, and then this will be 3. Little triangle here, little triangle here, and then one right here, giving that dragonfly a little bit of interest. Isn't that so fun? So let's do it again. So I'm going to come in, do an overdraw of the dragonfly, coming in and arcing, coming down and out, filling these in. Same thing over here. And then let's go ahead and do our aura. And another aura over here. An aura down here. And an aura down here. Coming into the bottom of the wing, creating those little points. And then once again, let's do the 3 lines. 1, 2, and here comes 3. Making little triangles at the end of those lines. And same thing over here. So 1, 2, 3, and triangle at the end of the line. Isn't that so fun? All right, so you go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine. Okay, so isn't this really, really fun? I hope you're enjoying it. So around my home, there's a pond that is nearby in our neighborhood, and we get these big, beautiful orange dragonflies. And so I'm going to do this piece with some different colors than the original piece that I had done. So I'm going to start with the yellowed orange, which is PC1002 from Prisma. I'm also going to be working with the cadmium orange, which is PC118, and then I'm going to be also working with Scarlet Lake, which is PC923. Really, really fun colors to work with. If you don't have the same colors as me, don't worry about it. What I'm looking for is a warm yellow, a nice light orange, and a dark, dark red. And that's all you need for this class, okay? So let's go ahead and start in with the wings of our dragonfly here. So I'm going to start by using the lightest color first, and let's go ahead and zoom in on it. And I'm going to dust in not where the outside aura is, but where the inside of the wing is. And so you'll really start to see the definition that happens when I create this. So I'm just coming in, creating the definition for the inside of that wing by doing the lightest yellow first. And you can already see here it's got definition, and here there's really not a whole lot going on. It just looks like a bunch of lines there. So this really starts to bring in a little bit of gravity and definition to that dragonfly. Now once I have that, I'm also going to dip down into the wing that is a little bit smaller. So I'm going to come down here and dip into this right here. So I'm just dusting in my color. You'll notice that I'm going very, very lightly with the pencil here, just getting a really, really soft dusting or a foundation of color. Now once I've got that, I'm going to pick up that cadmium orange. This is that a little bit darker. It's not the darkest, but it is a little darker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of that orange to this. Now you'll notice that I don't have to press hard for this. I'm actually going pretty light. And I'm going to go over to the other side and add a little bit on the other side here. And just dusting that in. And then I'm going to come into where my smaller pieces are down at the bottom. Add a little bit there. And then over to the other side, coming in just as I did on the first piece. Now once I have that, I'm going to start to pick up that darker red. You'll notice I haven't done any blending of my colors just yet. All I'm doing is laying down the foundation for it. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to dust in a little bit of that red into the piece. Coming over to the other side and dusting that in here. Coming in over here and doing the same. Getting in there, getting that drama in the corners, and a little bit right in the center of these little wings in here. Now I'm going to come back in once I've got all three of those little pieces done, and you can see that I've got this line of demarcation between each color. I've got that lightest yellow in my hand here, and I'm just going to soften it up with that lightest yellow, and you can see that that takes that hard line of demarcation and really blends it out. And I'm going to let it dive back into the red. And you'll notice that because this pencil has so much wax, it does a beautiful job of blending out my colors. So I'm just coming in, blending that out. And getting right in there. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm going really, really light. I don't have to press hard to get these colors to blend. And we want to be careful not to burnish the tile as well. That can happen too if we're getting too high a pressure on that pencil. Getting right in there. And you can see that that's really started to pick up a really beautiful texture and feel. Now, once I've got that all in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my white pencil from Prisma. This is the PC938. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that color, that white color from Prisma, this is the PC938 here, and I'm just going to go right into the center and do a little bit of blurring out right into where that yellow is. And the reason for that is it's going to give me this buttery-like feeling going all the way through. I'll come in over here, and down in here. And you can really see that that's created this beautiful ombre of color inside. So I'm going to go around to each of my dragonflies and do that very same technique. You go ahead and do yours. So now that I have the wings of the dragonfly in, I'm going to start to introduce a new color into the piece. And I'm going to be working with purple here. I've got Parma Purple, which is PC1008. And I also have in my hand here the violet, which is PC932. And I'm going to be working with both of these inside of our tangle here. So we're going to come back to Virya, and I have these two really nice diamond-like shapes in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the lighter purple first, and let's go ahead and zoom in on this here. So I'm coming in and zooming in on it. And I'm just going to go ahead and softly add a little bit of purple right into those diamonds that I have. I'll do that here, and I'll do that right in here as well. Now once I have the purple in there, I'm going to add some shading with the purple. And what this is going to look like is I'm going to come into the very tip of where this is. So you can see here's the shorter triangle and here's kind of the elongated triangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with a little bit of a push on that Parma purple and just come about 3/4 of the way up. I'll do the same thing over here, coming up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with that violet and start to add in a little bit of violet right into the tips of these two pieces. Now once I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and pick up just a little bit of my blush pink. This is one of my favorite colors to work with. This is PC 928, and I'm just going to add a little dusting of that pink right up at the top over the Parma purple. And I'm going to let it start to drag back a little bit into the Parma purple. So you can see that I've done that there, and I'm going to do it over here as well. And you can see that I'm letting it kind of cut back into and kind of drag around that purple. And this is just going to give this a really nice blended feel. And you can see that that gives it a really nice transition. So I'm going to do that in all of my pieces going all the way around. So all in the Virya, we're going to do that. Okay, so you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. So I love the way that that purple has really got a nice contrast next to that orange and yellow in there. So we're going to let go of the orange and the yellow, and we're going to start to bring some more colors into the piece here. I've picked up one of my favorite colors. This is lime peel green, PC1005, and I'm also going to be working with the Prussian green, which is PC1, I believe it is 1019. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and start with that lighter green first. So what I'm looking for is a light green and a dark green. And so I'm going to come in with that lime peel green first and just start to dust in the areas around this dragonfly in here. Just getting a really, really soft feel of that green in there. And let's go ahead and zoom in on this. And we're going to start to see this really nice contrast up here. So as I'm working around these wings, I'm also going to come into the area that's right underneath the dragonfly, and I'm going to push a little bit harder right underneath where his wings are to start to develop a shadow. And that's what happens when you start recording without turning on your airplane mode. So I'm adding a little shadow into this piece here by just taking the pencil and giving it a little bit of a push right underneath the body of the dragonfly. You're going to see me come in over here as well and start to develop a little bit more shadow over by where the wings are. Now, once I've pushed a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up that darker green. Now remember, if you don't have the same green as me, don't worry about it, but you're going to see me just come in and start to bring in a little bit of that darker green right underneath the wings of this dragonfly here. Just a little touch of it, not a lot, just a little bit. I'm really looking to just make it pop. Now once I have that, I can come in with that lighter green again and just slightly blur out my edges. And that's going to give me a really nice glow around the dragonfly. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to work on mine. You can see that I've got 3 more to do, but look at how, when I zoom out, look at how electric that looks, and look at how flat these are over here. So it really gives it a pop. Now remember, if you don't have the same colors as me, all I'm looking for is a light green and a dark green. So go have fun with these, okay? Now, as I was working with this, I did decide to bring a little bit of shadow down the sides of our tangle that we have in here, Deria. And so what I want to do is just emphasize the sides of it so that it really gives this a really nice perimeter shading. You can see how it's making the inside of those areas pop really beautifully. So go ahead and do that, and just continue to play, but remember to leave the light in certain places, because that's really how shading works, is that when you have the light and the dark together, they really blend so nicely and give it a pop. Okay? So many of you have heard me talk about carrying color, and that's where we have this color that's right in here, this green, and I want to see it elsewhere in the piece. And I'm going to start to bring it into the center pieces of the flower here. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this. And I'm going to start with the light green first, and I'm just going to dust some of that light green in here. So I'm going fairly lightly with that light green. This is the lime peel green that I'm working with. And once I've got that, you can see that I'm leaving a little light source right there. I'm going to go ahead and start to bring in a little bit of that darker color and just along the edge. Now I'm not pushing hard, I'm just building a foundation here. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to press hard right along the outside edge. Get the drama that I'm looking for. Isn't that so pretty with those greens? I love the green next to that yellowy orange. I just think it's beautiful. I'm going to come back in with a little bit of that light green and kind of blur the area a little bit. And then I'm going to come in right where the darker green is meeting the light foundation of dark green. And you can see that that's blending out really nicely. You don't always have to use white to get it to blend. And look at how cool that is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that in the other pieces as well. You go ahead and do yours. I've got 3 more to go. All right, and I'm going to turn mine all so that my light source is over towards the left. So this will have the light source towards the left. They'll all have it towards the left, okay? But you can do it any which way you like. Okay, so many of you know that I like to do a technique called wallpaper, and that's where you tangle with the color that you're coloring with. We're going to use a tangle for our wallpaper today, and some of you are very familiar with it, but some of you are not, and this is called Shattuck. And Shattuck is really just a series of arcs, so it's just... and then you can go on the other side and you just keep on layering it in different directions, which is really, really fun. Now there's many ways to do Shattuck, but for our technique today, we're really just going to create these little arcs and have some fun with it. So I'm going to take this off to the side here, and I'm going to pick back up that darker green color. You can see that I've got that darker green color in my hand. And let's go ahead, I'm going to use this one since the space is the largest. And I'm going to zoom in on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Shattuck, and I'm just going to create some arcs over here. And then I'm going to create some arcs over here. And you can see how I'm just building it up in the background. And look at how neat and textural this is, and look at how kind of it's not bad, it's just different. It has a little bit more of a shallow feel to it. So I'm just going to come over to this other side and do it again. You can see that I'm really just having some fun. And look at how interesting that makes that behind the dragonfly here. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to do it again. So all I'm doing is just arcing, and then I'll come in the opposite direction. You want to make sure that your pencil is good and sharpened up for this because you're going to be working with the tip. Now I would say that I'm pressing with a medium pressure, and then I'll come over here and I'll do the same. And you can see that I'm kind of thinking about lining up my lines. They don't have to be perfect, but I am sort of lining them up. Super fun, and it just brings a really nice textural feel into the piece. So go ahead and finish up yours, and I'm going to finish up mine. Isn't that so fun? I really love the way that that came out. So I'm going to pick up my graphite pencil. Now some of you know that I am not a huge fan of working with graphite because I'm left-handed, but I think that in a space like this where we have such small spaces, it really does end up working out quite well. So I'm going to use my regular graphite pencil, and I'm going to use what we call a tortillon or a blending stump. Now if you don't have one of these at home, go grab a Q-tip. Q-tips work wonderfully for blending stumps, and you can use them for all different kinds of pastel pencils, but this is just a blending stump, and you can get like 20 of these on Amazon for like $3, or go and support your local art store like Riley Street Art Supply in San Rafael and Santa Rosa. So those are good places to go if you can support your local stores. Or Blix or Jerry's Artorama, those are all good too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start in on my dragonfly here, and I'm going to go ahead and just dust in the side of my dragonfly head, the side of the dragonfly body, just like so. And then I'm also going to come in and dust a little bit into his wing. And down in here. And then a little bit right in here. Okay, I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm just doing a little dusting here and a little dusting there. Right at the tip of the wing here and the edge. And then right here and right here. So now that I have those, let's go ahead and zoom in on this bad boy here. I'm going to pick up my tortillon, and I'm just going to start to blend in a little bit of that graphite. You can see that I'm softening it up, but here's the key. Remember, you've got to leave the light, because if you go all the way through, you don't see the shading, it just all goes away. So remember to leave the light, and also because it's graphite, if you do lose the light, you can always pop in with a little gummy eraser and just give it a little bit of light. So remember, there are no mistakes, just opportunities, right? Okay, so you can see that I'm just kind of blending this in and kind of softening up that graphite. So I've got his wings. Now I'm going to start to work on his body. So I'm going to come in and work on his body. So little circles is the way that I like to do my shading, because I feel like you get a nice even distribution of your color or your graphite. Now that I've got that all blended in, I'm going to come back in with just a skosh more of that pencil, and you can see that I'm pushing a little bit harder. I'm looking for drama here. I'm looking for a little bit of that pop. I'm going to come to the side of his head and give that a little bit of a push, a little bit on the side of the body. See how I'm really looking for that just really unique pop of darkness there, that richness of color. Getting right into the tips of the wings, and then coming over here and adding a little bit more. I'll come back in with the tortillon, so you want to make sure that you've got the right side, because one side is for the white charcoal pastel pencil, and then one side can be for the darker one. You can see that I'm just getting in there and blending that in. And look at the difference between when you add shading and when you don't. There's nothing wrong with when you don't. It just has a flatness to it. For me, I'm partial to the shading. It's what I think makes Zentangle so exciting. Okay, so go ahead, finish up yours, and then when we come back, we're going to add some shading around our original tangle here. Have fun with this one. Dragonflies are pretty much my favorite thing. They are so cool. I love to watch them. They're amazing little insects, or big insects for that matter. All right, have fun. Isn't that interesting how the shading really just makes this pop? And originally when I did this, I was looking at it and I didn't even see the dragonflies. It was one of those things where it just kind of came into being all by itself. But boy, it really does bring it out when we start to do the shading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in with a little bit more of that graphite, and we're going to come into our original tangle here. So let's go ahead and zoom in on it. And what I'm going to do is right around the center of the flower here, I'm just going to do a little bit of shading. And then I'm also going to go to the outer edges of the flower and do a little bit of shading. And I'm not pushing hard. I'm doing a nice light shade with that pencil. Now I'm going to pick up the tortillon again. I'm looking for the right side of the tortillon, so this is the side I've been shading with, and I'm going to start to blend this in. Now because this is such a small space, I want to be mindful of not losing the light. So you can see that I'm just going to do little circles right over the top and right over the bottom. And look at how pretty that is. It does bring a lot of dimension. You want to make sure that you're getting those tips filled in. I'm going to go to the other side and blend them out. Really give that a nice feel. Now remember, you can come back in with a little bit of darkness right on the tips and get a little bit more dimension. Which will look really beautiful when you do that. Now if you lost the white in the center, all you have to do is just pick up a little eraser and you can bring that light back in. So you can see that I've got one of these really neat gummy erasers, and so I can manipulate it to make it go into the space where I want it to be, and you can bring back in the light. And then you can kind of dance back and forth with it and decide how smoky or how misty you want your shading to be. But look at how pretty that is when I zoom out. It gives a really nice relationship between the dragonfly and the tangle itself. And then also look at the difference between these two. Notice how the shading makes this three-dimensional, and notice how when it doesn't have the shading it's a little flat. So have some fun with that, and then when we come back we're going to start to work inside of these little diamond shapes. Okay. So look at how cool that is. That's super fun. So I'm going to come into the center here, and you can see that I'm going to be working on the edges of my diamonds. And I'm just going to add a little splash of that graphite right at the bottom and a little bit of a splash of that graphite right up at the top in here. So you can see that I'm staying away from the flower a little bit. And I'm going to come in and I'm just going to dust in a little bit of that graphite. And I'm really looking to see a little pop in here. So I'm really keeping the graphite away from the flower itself. So that's all I'm going to do in there. I might add just a little bit of darkness right into the center. You can see that I just pushed a little bit harder. And I'm going to do that with all of these. So I'm going to go around to each one of these and do that. Okay? Have fun with that. So we're going to start to bring in some highlights into the piece. Now, I know some of you don't have this pen, but I do want to talk about it here. So I have this pen. It's called the Mizu Love. It's Misulove. I did get this off of Amazon. You can get a whole box of these. I think there's 3 in a box for $4, and they are wonderful pens. They go right over color pencil really, really well. They're one of my favorites. Now, if you don't have this, you can always use the Jelly Roll. I'm going to have the Jelly Roll 10 in my hand today, but they have the 08 and I believe there's an 05 as well. These are great pens. They're not as good over the color pencils, but they do work in a pinch. Now, if you want to really go to town and have a really interesting experience, the Posca whites are wonderful. These are those kind of pens that you have to shake up, but it has a really nice fine tip, and these work really well over color pencils. So if you want to check these out, I believe these are $6 a piece, but they are a fantastic pen and well worth the money. So I'm going to grab my Mizu Love since that's my favorite, and I'm going to start by just getting it started on my finger. For me, it's just the way I get this pen going. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in with my Dragonfly first, and I'm going to go to the darkest side of the Dragonfly and just give it a little arc there. And then I'm going to come in and give him a little arc on his body with a couple of dots. And then I'll come down his lower half and give him a couple of dots there. Now I'm also going to go into the area of our tangle here, and you can see that I'm right in here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white with a dot. I'll come into the flower here and do that. And then if you want to, you can come from the bottom up, which is also really pretty. It gives this a really nice feel. Now if you want to make your lines a little thicker, you can make your lines a little thicker just to give a little extra drama to that. But you can see that when you do this, it just adds a little bit more dimension into the piece. So if you're looking here and then you're looking over here, it's just that little bit that makes a difference. So I'm going to play with this a little bit. The other place that you can put a little bit of that highlight is you can go into the wing of the dragonfly, and I'm just going to add a little bit of a sheen going through his wing, and you can see I have to touch really, really lightly with this pen, but it does work. Just get it in there. And if you want to, you can add another dot, and that also brings a little bit of sheen into the wings. Okay? So have fun, play. Remember, we're here to enjoy ourselves, not to judge, so have a good time with this. So I'm really enjoying the way that this came out with all of our highlights. I think that really gave it a little bit of extra push there. I think it's really nice. I've gone and added my chop into the piece. That's my initial. That just signifies that I have finished with the piece. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in the original, and you can see that I used different colors for these two pieces. I just wanted you to see what happens when you come back and you try it again with different colors. You get a completely different feel, but it is really fun to play with them and to see different kinds of dragonflies, because dragonflies come in different colors. You have the damselfly, and then you have these beautiful red dragonflies that are so much fun. So if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a thumbs up or a nice review. Better yet, you can hit the subscribe button in that upper corner there, and that will let you know anytime I add a new class into my channel here. If you want to join our Tangled Yogi Art community page on Facebook, all of my students share their work there, and it's really, really fun to see how differently everybody does the class. And if you want to learn about anything Tangled Yogi related, which is me, your teacher, you can go to tangledyogi.com and you will find out about all of my classes and anything that I'm working on. So that's it for me. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Thanks for joining us for the Dragonfly Dream today. I really enjoyed teaching it to you. Bye for now.